Everyone!
Yep, what's going on, Duck Nation, College Football Nation? This is UODuckBros.
And finally back!
Yeah, we're like 3 weeks late.
Woo!
So,
we apologize because we had a slew of issues.
Sometimes life happens.
And it really happens. So we apologize. We're going to get back on track.
We are giving you a whole bunch of videos
all at
the
once!
same time. So get ready for that. Now, what we're starting with is something that happened a really long time ago, which I guess that means we can have a nice, objective opinion about it all, since it was so long ago.
Yeah.
So, Washington State recap, as upsetting as that was to watch. The funny thing is, Connor Halliday had less passing yards than he did a year ago when he had like 500 and something yards and a bajillion attempts that tied the record. But
nevertheless, it was still, I'm sure for every single one of you also, it was just absolutely maddening because...
Well, and that's when we really found out how beat up the offensive line really was.
Well, it was the offensive line. It was the lack of any pressure on the defense. There was no push from the defensive line.
Which we also found out partially why that was. We found out that during the game, Oregon's fifth cornerback, I don't remember who it was at the time, but he was actually injured through virtually the whole game, and so because they didn't have anybody to really substitute in at that point, they felt that it would be a better idea to drop an eighth man into coverage and at least have more people to cover, which didn't necessarily work anyways, but they figured that would be a better idea than to, sacrifice having to have that guy be on man coverage while they rushed, 4 or more. So I get it. It's just it didn't work. that's the problem.
Thank the Lord for Marcus Mariota just pretty much nearly being perfect.
Yeah,
literally only throwing 4 incompletions, and every single one of those drives were for major yardage, or were for a crucial first down, or were touchdowns to answer touchdowns to keep the momentum clearly in our favor and not allowing the game to completely get away from us, because let's be honest, at times I'm sure we felt like, oh Lord, this could go south really quick.
I mean, up in the Palouse, that's
I was just
that
having
place is not to be
visions,
trifled with.
Yeah, of us just completely
It
crumbling under the pressure, and to the credit of Oregon and just really the coaching staff, keeping all those young guys in the game, keeping their heads clear and keeping them focused on just
definitely
whatever you could control, and keeping everything for the most part. I know we didn't do a very good job of it. It was probably Efo's worst game I've ever seen him play.
Well,
but
I mean, let's
everything
be honest,
in front
though.
of you.
That what's his name? Vincent Mail or whatever. That guy's good.
He's very good.
I think he actually leads the Pac-12 at this current point, not at the time of that game, but
No.
at this point in the season, I think he actually leads the Pac-12 in receiving. So he's good. He's very good.
I'm not gonna lie to you though.
Now
it was disappointing.
It was. Hey, that's gonna happen sometimes. Now, Washington State fans and other fans that hate Oregon, I know they're going to say, oh, well, the refs were in your pocket, blah, 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 blah. That one, okay, you know what? I'll agree. It was totally a pass interference that Oregon got away with. They totally did. But how many offensive pass interferences did Washington State get away with? Because I saw at least 2 of them, of which one of them was directly on a touchdown score.
And I'll tell you right now, the things that you guys were getting away with in that game, Oregon has been penalized for in future games since then. So it's not like these things, you don't just have your wide receiver, 5 or 6 yards off in the corner of the end zone from any of our corners just because he ran a great route. It's because he got smashed by the other guy running a crossing route, which freed him up in the corner.
Yeah, one of their wide
and it didn't get
receivers
called.
Just straight up ran full bore into one of our defensive backs, which left the other guy wide open, and they just so happened to not see that.
So I kind of feel like no matter really at what point in the game you felt that this was a non-call that changed the face of the game, it doesn't really make up for the fact that there was about 2 or 3 touchdowns that happened in that game that probably shouldn't have if they were called correctly, and then you've got a whole different ball game anyway. So the penalties are a wash, but I'll give credit to Washington State because they came to play.
They did.
And they scared
Halliday
the crap out of Oregon no matter what anybody says. If they say anything different, they're lying, because I was on the edge of my seat until the very end of the game.
Dude, Connor Halliday can sling the rock, man.
All over the place.
If this were basketball, they would say he shares the sugar
And
well.
he was sharing it.
He did. Okay, I'm going to say right now, because you've seen me get up like 4 times, this is the most uncomfortable chair in the world.
Because he's actually not even on a chair.
I'm sitting on an ottoman right now because my other chair broke in half, so that's what's going on.
Donations for a new computer chair.
And no kidding. So
Kickstart account.
So, in summation here, it was an ugly game for Oregon, but they made the plays when they needed to make them.
Yep.
That's really what matters the most. And, they got the running game going late because it really wasn't there for the vast majority of the game, and because the offensive line struggled so bad. I mean, Mariota got sacked a bajillion times in the game, but not so much. I think he only got sacked like once in the second half because they adjusted and they started rolling him out of the pocket more. It gave him a lot more open people to throw to. And so that was good. But, man, that was a frustrating thing to watch.
Yeah, it was definitely not one of my more favorite moments to start the conference playoff with, that's for sure.
No.
But, I mean, hey, that for any team, I don't really care unless you have an incredible secondary. Most teams are going to struggle. And when you're asking your guys to drop back in coverage 80 times a game.
In this case, it was 63, but that's a lot. That is a lot of times.
I use an inflated number, but when you're passing the ball that many times in a game,
especially when you have
you have a bunch of young guys.
You do, and you have an inexperienced coordinator too. You got new players learning the game. You got a new coordinator that's kind of trying to figure out his identity as a coordinator. That's tough, man.
It is tough.
But the best way to learn is by experience. You have things happen to you. You have to adapt.
So without turning this into a long soliloquy, we're going to just basically say soliloquy
with a Q and no L's.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that was a blown
thing
coverage there. We're watching the Beavers game, and
this is one of the worst games I've seen in a while. And to think, this is what SEC football was like just a couple years ago, where you had those 9-6 games deep in the third
Yeah,
quarter.
If I was to tell you right now that there's only a 14-point game combined between two people, you would think I was talking about somebody from the Southeastern Conference, but we're actually talking about Utah and Oregon State right now.
Oh, it's so bad. Not a single offensive touchdown yet.
No,
but
it's
that's
terrible.
beside the point. So
as we go on to rambling, but just without being completely Captain Obvious here, we escaped with a win. It wasn't our best performance. It was, but we did what we had to do, and Marcus Mariota showed why he is still the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the sole reason why we won that game. He just was.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we needed to score.
Sorry, I had an update thing pop up that just shadowed the screen. It was weird.
Yeah, it was different. But we scored. We need to score. We kept the crowd out of the game for the most part.
Made the plays. Yeah, to make them.
And I just feel like with that, those games are the tests that you need going forward. And I think that was one of those times, and it obviously wouldn't be the last time we were tested. And so, that's our expert analysis. It was horrible, but not really a lot to talk about because
here's the thing, and this is going to be my last point, is that the conference is a lot better right now than it was a few years ago. So, I mean, you're not going to be seeing Oregon blowing teams out, 65-10 or 50-17 all the time. I mean, you're going to get a lot more games like this, as you will find out later on. It's totally
as you already know.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the fact that the Pac-12, it's not so top heavy like it once was, where it was Oregon, and then everybody else. I mean, you got great teams in this conference from almost top to bottom. I mean, Colorado's still not quite there, but other than that, I mean, everybody else is still pretty good.
That just speaks volumes to, I mean, the years and years and years of coaching changes and getting better coaches and all that stuff. But all in all, it was we grinded it out. It was a nail biter, but we survived.
Got the old George W.
So
with that said, my friends, we shall see you in the next video because we've got plenty more coming. And as always,
go Ducks. Nike U
and everything else
in full effect for this weekend. So
yep. So we'll see you soon with another one.